this is how we break the chain for future generations, by giving them the tools at such a young age. And I think that that's a wonderful and a beautiful thing. And, you know, to be able to give it to your kids, and likely they'll probably be teaching their peers, because they won't understand why somebody is explosive or reacting in a way, because they've already learned the skills to sort of regulate their nervous system in such a way that it almost seems like, well, what's going on over there? That doesn't, well, try what I'm like, let's try this. You know what I mean? And so I just think that that's wonderful and extremely beautiful.
When you say that, like, kids teaching kids, so my,
Yeah.
well, that too, but my oldest is very, like, not competitive. So she is like essentially me when I was a kid. Like, there's just like, there's no competition.
She's the anti-me, because I was the ultimate competitive kid.
But so she was in a cross country race recently, and her friend was having a hard time breathing. And so rather than running past her friend, she stopped. She's like, I'm going to teach you the choo-choo breath. Here we go. And helped her friend all the way to the finish line. And Mike's like, why did you stop running?
Don't hold it against me. I played decent level sports my entire life, so everything in me is competitive. And I'm like, you can win this. Like, I know how fast you are. And then there was another race where a kid felt like right at the start line, it is a group of children, and a couple fall down, and my oldest, she stops to help these kids on the ground. And I was like, go, like, you're running. She like looks at me and then just starts running along.
Awesome.
That's
but
really
you know, that level, I mean, we could use that level of kindness throughout our society a bit more, I think. So that's really great.
Yeah, no, she is the ultimate empath. She definitely got it from her mom. They are the most compassionate people I've ever met in my life, and it has brought me to a new level of myself, and I love it.
Well, and I think the other really cool thing about what you're doing, and we haven't even really had a chance to dive all the way in yet to all the things that you do, but just what I know about so far is that, you know, you say, I wish I'd had these tools when I was young, but you can learn them now and change everything from today forward. And that's so great, because a lot of people figure I'm just resigned to being this way because I'm too old to learn, you know, to change who I am or change myself. But that's not true at all, is it?
No, and I think a lot of people believe that they are stuck, or that you are what your circumstances have been. But I mean, really, that is like our whole message when we come out to talk to people or talk to our clients, is like, you can choose to be anything that you want in this life. If you want to be different, you want to think different, you want to act different, you have that power to take that into your control. But that is 100% up to you, and that is up to you to decide. I mean, there's so many people in our society that go, this circumstance happened to me and that was the end of my life, essentially. And from that moment on, I just coasted. And whereas, like, I totally believe I've had so much stuff happen in my life, and I'm like, I am not those things, and I'm never going to be those things. They happened in my life, but they made me into this person that I am today. And that I can go ahead and help other people change and learn from my experiences and grow out of that.
Well, and that's the growth is the perfect word there, because your life is just an entire series of growth patterns, right? So right now, today, everybody is where they are because they are an accumulation of everything you've done throughout your life, right? We are the people we are because of the choices we've made. So if you want to change the person you are, you need to start changing some of these choices. And your brain doesn't like to think about that. Your brain likes to go back into the comfortable pattern of, well, I know it's not going to kill me if I do the exact same thing I've always done. So it's like, well, that is true. But if we start getting outside of our comfort zone just a little bit, we can actually change the person we are, right? This is where you start getting these growth mindset, growth patterns. And it's amazing to see when you start teaching this to people and they're like, oh man, so I don't have to be this victim that I've been for my entire life. It's like, no, like, you get to choose your own path here. It's like those old books that choose your own adventure books. You're literally writing your own book every day.
That's really cool. And I think this is right up Johnny's alley. I can see him smiling and nodding. And
yeah, completely. I always have an adventurous spirit. It's part of my core. And that's one of the reasons why I came over to Vietnam, among many other reasons. Something that struck me as you were talking, what was it like for you growing up? As you've said that everything in yourself accumulates to what you are now, what was that like? Maybe as a teenager, maybe in your 20s, and so forth.
Oh man, for me, oh boy.
Yeah, for you. Yeah, go ahead.
So growing up for me, I was very competitive. I was always the athlete. I played pretty much every sport at a decently high level. And I was very driven to achieve more. Once I got outside of high school, I kind of, I'll use the term, I hit a party phase because I didn't have any boundaries that were going to stop me. I moved away from home, and I kind of freewheeled for a little while. And by freewheeled, I mean, I pretty much free fell. And you know, they always say you got to hit rock bottom before you can kind of come back up. I won't say that I hit rock bottom by any means, but I will say that I got to some pretty low lows, and then I made these conscious decisions. I was like, this isn't who I was meant to be. And this was that internal dialogue. And I started to like my dad's a great guy. He was a cop growing up, and I always knew that, you know, service was in me. Like I enjoyed helping people. I enjoyed being able to change people's lives. I didn't know what that meant for myself though. So I actually took the other route. Instead of going police, I went into fire college. So then I decided to pursue the type of service where people actually like you. No. So I went into fire college, but it was one of those days where it was like, I was in this complete party scene, and I was like, no, this isn't who I am anymore. And it was like a switch got flipped, right? So I signed up for fire college. I had to completely clean up because, you know, they do drug testing, they do physical testing, they do all that. I hadn't worked out since back when I played sports. So I was like, okay, I got to start working out again. So I started running, and I started going to the gym again. And Kaila was going to the gym at that time. So it was like, okay, well, what do I do? And then she absolutely beat the crap out of me through a few classes. It was pretty fun. But yeah, so then I went to fire college, and then, you know, we just started kind of rolling with those punches. So that was when I was in my early 20s, and then completely shifted our life from where we were to a completely different province in Canada here. And then just, yeah, started our family. I mean, it was a growth pattern for sure.
We had a lot of reactive patterns, I would say. Like, I think that's like a lot of people's patterning in their lives. Like, they don't make changes until like shit hits the fan or something, when like something happens, and then we're like, oh, we got to pivot, we got to make a change. And I think that like for myself, that was always me. It was like, okay, this circumstances happen, now I got to pivot, got to change. So for growing up, I got really used to pivoting and changing. And then at 19, I got hit by a car. And I was in the party phase right before 19. I was a teenager. But it was the day after my 19th birthday. I was pedestrian hit by a car, and I was in a turmoil state. Like I was in and out of an abusive relationship. I was in a really terrible spot, and it was like the universe like literally smacked me in the face and was like, what the hell are you doing? And so I got mandated to go to the gym, and I had never been to the gym before. And I was like, oh, okay, what do? I hired a trainer. I went to some classes, and I grew up watching my mom live in chronic pain my whole life growing up. She was addicted to pain pills. Like it was an interesting, I'm going to say, take on growing up as a child. And so I knew that I never wanted to go down that path. I mean, I barely even take Tylenol if I get the opportunity to do it, you know? So I'm like, I don't want to be in pain forever. And I was in a pretty rough shape. And so going to the gym, I felt, oh, I'm not in pain anymore. Like, I mean, I was a different kind of pain, but it's not like the same kind of achy pain. And even now, 2-3 days without going to the gym or moving, I start getting achy pain. But I knew that was for me. I had to do this to just not be in pain and start to live my life. And that really helped me pivot. I was like, oh, well, I might as well get paid to do this if I'm going to have to do this forever. And it kind of just like blossomed from there. And I think that
entrepreneurial spirit.
It was it was a pivot.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was a pivot. And so like, yeah, I think I just slowly progressed and fell in love, and it just became its thing.
Well, it takes a special kind of spirit to be entrepreneurial and to have that shift, not only for your life, but also transforming that into a business, into that prospect, and being able to do the service of giving to clients what's been given to you. You want it to be a sense of return.
Yeah, I worked for the federal government, like the Canadian federal government, for several years. And even when I was first starting this journey, up until not like a couple years, I mean, 6 years ago, anyways, I was still working for the federal government while kind of trying to be that entrepreneur. And I realized at some point, it was like, I can't do it all. I can't be a mom. I can't work full time and serve people in a capacity where I'm limited. I hate being limited, if that makes sense. Like, I just don't want somebody to say, you can't tell them this. You can't tell them this. I'm like, no, you need to know. Like,
Yeah.
She knew all the ins and outs of the government and she couldn't tell anybody.